All right, hello everyone, and welcome! If you're here, you are ready to get your hands dirty with video editing. And let's be real for a second, it's a mix of feelings, right? It's exciting, but it can also be pretty frustrating. You've got all this incredible new technology, these amazing AI tools, but then you're just staring at a blank timeline and it feels, well, it's intimidating. So today, we're going to tackle that feeling head on. This isn't just about learning the technical stuff. It's about building the confidence to actually use it. So how many times have you heard this one? Maybe you've even said it about yourself. This one little sentence is probably the biggest roadblock to creating something amazing. It's this idea, this fear, that we're either born creative or not. But you know what? As we're about to find out, that is just not true. This is a belief that we learn. And the good news is, it's something we can unlearn.
So where in the world does that doubt even come from? Well, a lot of the time, it starts really early on with a fear of being judged. I mean, think back a little. We've all been there. That moment when you're about to share a new idea or show off something you made, and that little voice in your head kicks in, just worrying about what everyone else is going to think. That right there, that's the fear we're talking about. And for a lot of us, it has a surprisingly powerful origin story. Let me tell you a quick story from this brilliant designer, David Kelly. When he was in the 3rd grade, he had a best friend named Brian. And one day, in art class, Brian was making a horse out of clay. He was totally in the zone, just focused and having fun. But then a girl at his table leaned over, looked at his project and said, "That's terrible. That doesn't look anything like a horse." And Brian's shoulders just sank. He immediately wadded up that clay horse, threw it back into the bin, and David Kelly says he never ever saw his friend try a creative project like that again.
Wow, that story really hits hard, doesn't it? Because that fear of judgment, it can be absolutely paralyzing. And it's the very same feeling that can wash over you when you're just looking at an empty editing timeline. You're afraid to make that first cut, afraid it's not going to be good enough, afraid it won't look like a real horse. But what if I told you there was a way to systematically, step by step, overcome that fear? Well, the good news is there is. We're going to make a shift now from talking about the problem to walking down a proven psychological path to overcoming it. And this isn't about some vague advice like just try harder. No, this is a structured method for turning that fear into familiarity and turning that doubt into genuine earned confidence. The whole concept is called guided mastery, and it comes from the work of a psychologist named Albert Bandura, who was frankly a giant in his field. The idea is so simple, but it's incredibly profound. You conquer a big fear not by tackling it all at once, but by achieving a series of small, manageable successes. You literally build confidence, one small win at a time. So, for example, to cure a lifelong, crippling phobia of snakes, Bandura didn't just throw somebody into a pit of pythons. That would be crazy. No, he guided them through baby steps. First, they'd just look at the snake through a window from a safe distance. Then maybe they'd stand in the open doorway of the room. Then they'd actually enter the room. And finally, after a bunch of these little steps, they'd touch the snake with a gloved hand. And with each small success, the fear just dissolved. And this whole process leads to something that Bandura called self-efficacy. Now, this is more than just feeling confident. It's this deep-seated belief that you actually have the power to achieve what you set out to do. What's amazing is that the people who went through the snake process didn't just lose their phobia. They became more resilient in all other parts of their life. They stuck with problems longer. And that's our goal for your editing skills. Okay, so what are our baby steps? What are the small, manageable successes that are going to build your editing mastery? Well, they are the foundational cuts of video editing. I want you to think of these 9 cuts not just as technical tools, but as your personal pathway to creative confidence. Every single one you master is like taking one more step closer to that snake. Okay, let's start with the absolute basics. First up, the standard cut. It's just what it sounds like. You join 2 different clips together. Simple. You've probably already done this 100 times. Next, the jump cut. This is when you chop out a piece of a single continuous shot to make time jump forward. It's perfect for tutorials or just speeding up a process. And then, cutting on action. This is a classic film school trick. You make your edit right in the middle of a movement, like someone opening a door. It basically hides the cut from the viewer's eye. So smooth. Now, let's talk about 2 of my absolute favorites, the J-cut and the L-cut. These are so essential for making conversations and dialogue feel smooth and professional. With a J-cut, you hear the audio from the next scene before you actually see the video, so the audio leads the way. With an L-cut, it's the exact opposite. You cut to a new shot, but the audio from the previous shot keeps playing for a moment. Once you know what these are, trust me, you are going to see and hear them everywhere. All right, let's look at how cuts can really build our storytelling chops. A cutaway is when you briefly cut to something else to give the audience a little more info, like showing a close-up of a ticking clock in a tense scene. Then there's the crosscut, or parallel editing. This is when you jump back and forth between two things happening at the same time, but in different places. I mean, just think of any heist movie where you're seeing the team getting into position and the guards doing their rounds. It's all about building that suspense. And finally, we've got two super powerful cuts for playing with time. Now, everybody knows the montage, right? Think of any sports movie from the 80s with a training sequence. It's just a series of quick shots to condense a long period of time. A match cut, though, is a little more advanced, but it is so cool. It's when you cut from one shot to a totally different one, but you link them with a similar shape or a similar action. The most famous example is in Lawrence of Arabia, where a guy blows out a match and it cuts directly to the vast desert sun. It's just pure visual poetry. So what happens when you actually master these baby steps? When all that technical skill starts to combine with the creative confidence we've been talking about? Well, that's when you get the ability to solve real, meaningful problems. Let's look at a really powerful, real-world example of this in action. So this is Doug Dietz. He was an engineer at GE who designed these incredible, life-saving MRI machines, and he was so proud of his work. Until one day, he was at a hospital and saw a little girl who was just absolutely terrified to go into the machine that he had designed. She was crying, her parents were stressed out, and Doug, well, he had a full-on crisis of conscience. He started looking into it, and he learned that nearly 80% of the pediatric patients at that hospital had to be sedated just to get through the scan. Let that sink in, 80%. His machine, which was designed to save lives, was this terrifying monster to the very children it was supposed to be helping. He knew he had to do something. So, using a creative process and building up his own confidence, Doug completely redesigned the experience. He didn't just change the machine, he changed the whole story around it. He painted the walls, he decorated the scanner to look like a pirate ship, and he got the operators to talk to the kids about going on an adventure, telling them, you gotta lie perfectly still so the pirates don't find you. And the result? It was absolutely staggering. After his redesign, the number of kids who needed sedation dropped from 80% all the way down to 10%. The hospital was thrilled, GE was thrilled, and most importantly, the kids weren't terrified anymore. This is exactly what happens when skill and confidence come together. But the real metric for Doug, the thing that actually brought tears to his eyes, was this. After one scan, a little girl ran out to her mom, and instead of saying, I'm scared, she looked up and said, Mommy, can we come back tomorrow? He didn't just fix a process. He created genuine joy out of fear. And that brings this all right back to you. The skills you're learning here, these different cuts, these storytelling techniques, these are your tools. And what employers are really looking for isn't just a list of software you know. It's the confidence to use those tools to solve problems, to tell amazing stories, to turn a scary MRI into a pirate ship. Okay, time for a quick quiz. Let's see if you're paying attention. True or false? Guided mastery means that creativity is a rare gift that you're just born with. What do you think? The answer is, of course, false. Guided mastery is the proof that creativity and confidence are skills that can be learned, built through practice, and a series of small wins. And how about one more? True or false? In an L cut, the audio from the incoming clip is heard before the video cuts to it. Think carefully on this one. That's also false. That actually describes a J cut, where the audio leads. Remember, in an L cut, the video leads and the audio from the previous clip carries over. So let's end with this right here. Never, ever let anyone, and especially not yourself, tell you that you're just not the creative type. It is not some magical gift for a chosen few. It is a skill, it's a mindset, and it is built cut by cut, project by project. So go let your ideas fly. You now have the foundational cuts you need to start building your own creative confidence. So practice them, play with them, and start turning your own fear into familiarity. Next time, we're going to take this all a step further by exploring two of the most powerful elements in your entire toolbox, light and time. I'll see you then.